Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sax, and we're looking at Forspoken, Square Enix's latest action RPG that I have mixed feelings on. Don't worry though, no spoilers will be shown or told here. All the footage is from the first 2 hours of gameplay. And as for the game itself, visually, breathtaking. It's a very stunning game, from the lighting, textures, and the particle effects from the magic and combat, to just even the grass blowing in the wind or Frey's hair blowing in the wind. It just, it's good. Looks great. Just as good as the visuals is the combat. Magic has elemental properties. You shoot rocks. There's a flame sword you get a little later on. You can grow some vines out of the ground to hold your enemies down, or even summon a plant to shoot at them for you. The combat also has like enemy resistances, like there'll be some shielded enemies that you can either hit from behind to do extra damage to, or do a AoE attack close to them to hit them and knock their guard down. There's some enemies that are immune or resistant to certain types of damage, so you have to change up your spells in combat, which adds a little more variety. Speaking of enemies, there's a common occurrence to reskin enemies into another one with the same abilities. Bosses tend to also suffer from only having 1 to 3 attacks or ways to attack. Some of them only have 1 phase, some of them have 1 or 2 phases. But this does make combat feel repetitive after a while. The new spells you get, though, do tend to keep it a little fresh. The combat also suffers from enclosed spaces. If you don't have the area to move around or charge your spells up, you tend to get your shit kicked in. The dodge mechanic, though, can help you avoid that. It's very forgiving. You can pretty much just spam that bad boy and more than likely never take a hit. You can also use parkour in combat to evade attacks or land critical hits. The parkour is mostly used for travel and is for sure the most brain dead thing in the game. You hold down a single button and occasionally press jump to overcome some obstacles. That's pretty much the extent. Frey takes care of all the cool moves in the air. You don't have to press anything for that. As you do move through the world quickly, it's mostly barren, unfortunately. There aren't many sights to see. It's mostly ruins with the occasional dungeon or monument to be found. The side quests aren't that great either. When you're in the city, you'll mostly spend your time talking to people or chasing around cats. The story is a generic fantasy story of an orphan struggling to find their place in the world that gets magically sent to another world. Once they're in that world, they discover they now have powers and must become the hero to save it. The acting is great. The voice actors did an amazing job, but the material that they were given just seems to be bland. The plot mainly develops through discussions between Frey and Cuff as they ask questions and find answers. They do tend to have these side remarks that were supposed to be funny or just friends busting each other's balls, but it can come off as annoying or just weird. Sometimes it just sounds like an old couple arguing. The $70 price tag doesn't help this title out either. The game can't just be held up by the visuals and combat, not to mention the high-end machine you'll need to run this game at a reasonable rate, on PC at least. I had no issues while recording or streaming. I have yet to encounter any bugs. I wouldn't recommend this game at the $70 price tag. I personally would wait for a sale. The combat will be the main draw. I'm sure some people will enjoy the story. I think it's okay at most, but if you are interested in purchasing Forspoken, a link to the Steam store page is down in the description.